Welcome to the System Simplified podcast, where we feature top leaders who share stories on how to successfully systemize a business. Now, let's get started with the show.
So Adi Klevit here with the System Simplified podcast, where we interview top founders, entrepreneurs, and thought leaders about systematizing a business. And this podcast is being brought to you by Business Success Consulting Group. At Business Success Consulting Group, we create tailor-made processes and customized management systems so businesses can thrive. And Seth, I'm sure you will agree with me that businesses cannot survive or thrive without good systems.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So if you want to contact us, it's info@bizsuccesscg.com. All right. And now to our special guest today, Dr. Seth Hill. So Seth is a chiropractor and a business owner, and he owns 3 chiropractic clinics in the Portland area. And I am very happy to have you on the podcast today, Seth. So give us a little bit of a background about you.
Well, thank you for having me, Adi. I started my company 5 years ago, and before that, it was a journey getting to this point. I was in the military in the National Guard for Oregon, was a medic, and had background in healthcare administration. Volunteered for the for OHSU and the VA hospital here, and found my passion and desire in chiropractic medicine when I met my wife, who was actually working at a chiropractic clinic at the time, and a friend of mine who got in a car accident and became one of her patients. And that was my initial exposure to chiropractic medicine about 13 years ago, 12 years ago, and that was the beginning. And then now it's evolved into what it is today.
That's right. Okay, good. And so for our listeners and the people that are watching us, why don't you tell us the name of the 3 chiropractic offices that you have and how they can actually reach you?
So our first clinic is Oregon City Chiropractic and Auto Injury, and we're located out in Oregon City. On top of the hill there, our clinic is, you can go to our website, Oregon City Chiropractic, autoinjury.com, or shorthand is painfree97045.com. That will take you to our website.
Say that one again. So it's pain-free.
Painfree 97045. That's the zip code in Oregon City.
Smart. Okay. So painfree 97045.com. Great.
Yeah. It's much shorter.
That's right. It's easy to remember.
Yeah. And we also have Southeast Portland Chiropractic and Auto Injury. And the 3rd clinic is Columbia Gorge Chiropractic. And that's right on Main Street in downtown Troutdale. It's very easy and to find. And the Portland clinic is on 20th and Belmont. And that is seportlandchiropractic.com.
Awesome. Great. So you specialize in pain management and auto injuries.
That's correct. Auto injuries, pain management related to auto injuries, work injuries, and in any type of injury really, but those are our 2 main focus specializations.
Right. And your practices, I've been to your main practice in Oregon City, and it's a great practice. So if you're looking for a good chiropractor, definitely look up that clinic or the other ones, also if you're in Southeast or Troutdale. But, this podcast is about systematizing a business. And the reason why I wanted to interview you, we work together, and I know you started with one practice and you had that dream to have multiple clinics, satellite clinics or multiple clinics, and you are on your way to that. Witnessed by the 3 clinics you have now. And not only you have 3 clinics, but you also managed to open them during the pandemic, which is I think that's counts for a lot, right? Because that's a time when it's not the most usual time to open more practices. So let's talk about your vision and how did you manage to systematize and achieve that dream of having multiple locations?
Well, that's a very good question. And I would first start by saying you can't scale your business until you do have strong systems in place. And if you don't have your policies, procedures documented, you are just flying by the seat of your pants, and uh, you can't scale. You can't scale what's in your mind. It's got to be on paper, and it's got to be something reproducible that many people can execute. Right now, we have 23 employees. When we started in Oregon City, we worked with you to document those policies, procedures, and that's allowed us to replicate the same exact model at the other two clinics.
Right. So that's the importance of having processes. I know you have a great story that you tell about the effectiveness of having good processes in place. So I want you to share that story.
Yeah, when you first get started documenting, it's kind of a drag. It's a lot of work and it's really hard. And so I was kind of dragging my feet at the beginning, but I had documented certain procedures for our front desk, certain procedures that had multiple steps to it, kind of a semi-complex system that you would have to be trained on, right? So I had documented that, and this employee we hired, she was trained on it. She used our process, or our step-by-step process, and was executing this procedure. And it turned out that this individual, I won't go into details, but we had to terminate her in the middle of her executing this procedure. She was about halfway through, and we had to take her into the other room, terminate her. She left. Another employee who has zero exposure to the front desk and zero exposure to this procedure was able to pick up right where she left off and continue the procedure all the way through the end without any issues, without even talking to me about it, and just finished the procedure and presented it when it was complete. And it was fantastic. It was priceless. I didn't have to be there to train the employee on that procedure. So
I love that. That's great. That's a great example of the power of processes and procedures. You know, one of the things you're also big at and that we implemented is the KPIs, right? Is using KPIs in order to run a business.
Yeah.
So tell us about that. Like how is it helping you? Think about our listeners as other entrepreneurs, other business owners that want to grow and scale the business. What would you tell them? Why KPIs are so important?
Okay, so KPIs, or key performance indicators, are the lifeline of your business. If you don't know what your KPIs are, then you are running your company blind, essentially. And now it's become an essential part of our company culture. Our culture is driven by the data from our KPIs. Every single morning we have a morning huddle. In this morning huddle, every employee has an assigned KPI that they are responsible for, and they present on every morning. We're keeping track of their KPI, and the team works together to help each other accomplish their goal for that KPI. In addition to that, obviously, so for example, what is one of the KPIs we have? How many patients come in for the day? Obviously, we can't run a clinic without having patients come in. So front desk has a responsibility to schedule so many patients in the day. The clinic directors, they have a responsibility to reach a certain level of revenue for the clinic per day. And that's a KPI. So they each own their own KPI. We talk about it every single day in our morning huddles. We talk about it once a week in our weekly meetings. And then the clinic directors and I meet once a month and strategize for next month on KPIs that we need to reach for the following month. Those KPIs, are essential in our culture, and it's pretty cool. They get excited. They tell me all the time they get very excited when they reach their goals. It gives the employees conviction. It gives them a sense of purpose because they're accomplishing and reaching their KPIs, and it brings a whole new layer to their job than just showing up and going through the motions. And it's been fantastic.
That's great. And you use and an online system in order to track those KPIs, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Which one do you use?
I use one that's specific to my industry. It's called Blue IQ, and it's live streams our KPIs, so I have access to it at any given time.
Yeah, it's a great system because you can have you can actually set the goal for the month, and you can see how far away you are from the goal, or if you exceeded the goal. It gives you the green, the red, etc. So
yeah,
it definitely that's one of the things that I definitely recommend is using a system or an automated system in order to keep track of it, because it makes it simpler, because everybody can access, especially if it's cloud-based, and you can log in there and you can see it, and it makes it exciting.
Yeah,
it's
sorry. One other thing I would mention with the KPIs is we've also integrated KPI performance into the employees' performance evaluations, and we just completed one this week, and it made it a lot easier to evaluate the employee. Where are you on your KPI performance, and then it points straight to the data. It has nothing to do with personality, and the performance is very, very specific and easy to measure. So it's great.
I think it's awesome. It's fantastic, and that's definitely a key in developing a management system that works, right? Is having those metrics or statistics or KPIs, so you can have that objective measurement. You brought up a good point in terms of your employees are excited about it. They want to participate. They want to be part of it. I hear a lot from business owners that they have maybe a trepidation, or they're not sure about how their employees are going to respond if you actually start measuring them, right? And you can see sometimes you can have staff that may be not very excited about being measured. What would you say to those business owners?
I would say that is a very natural concern. In fact, I was really hesitant at first, like, oh man, if I start sharing all this data with them, two things will happen. One, they don't understand the full scope of my overhead, and so they start seeing numbers, for example, and I thought that would cause issues with employees. And also they at the beginning thought it was a drag, like, oh, all this extra work we're going to have to do. You're trying to assess me on numbers. I'm a person, look at me, kind of thing.
Right.
But between those, those are all just assumptions that you make up in your head, right? And so you have these fears, just like everything else as a business owner. You have certain fears that aren't real, and you have certain perceptions that aren't real, and you just need to execute it. And that's how every major successful business runs. They have to have KPIs. The employees love it. It gives them so much security and stability having a metric to work at. And I would say, get over your fears and let it happen.
I love it. You sound like me. That's awesome. Yeah. This is exactly, this is great. That, and also the documentation you brought up at the beginning, you have to overcome some barriers, right? Because, when we started working together, you had some of it documented, but it was in different places. We had to put it all together and then create a plan, start documenting. But you had then employees that really got into it. They really helped you document as well. So one of the things is, don't try to do it all yourself, right? I mean, as a business owner, it's impossible. That's why you have to utilize your key employees, or the employees that you want to clone, or you trust them and they know what they're doing. You definitely want to capture their knowledge and make it a collaborative effort to document it.
Yeah, that's one of the great time savers is I had each employee document every single procedure. They listed out every procedure they do through the day. They did that over a couple of day period. And then with each procedure, they outlined their own flow of that procedure. And then I worked with them to kind of fine tune it. And it actually helped me uncover and expose certain areas that we streamlined even more just from documenting. So that was great too.
Absolutely. And what's your secret for making it followed by all? So making sure that the procedure is actually followed, and it's not something you just wrote and they're sitting somewhere, but it's actually part of your culture.
That's a really good question. I would say the biggest change for that, I mean, I was doing one-on-ones with employees, and it's just not sustainable, with 23 employees.
And growing.
and growing. And so I personally, in my business, I created a position where the chiropractor in each clinic is the clinic director. So they're holding their teams accountable to fulfill their duties and responsibilities and their KPIs. But honestly, the morning huddle is a big tool. It was a major game changer to do the morning huddles, getting everyone on the same page and focus, being extremely intentional about their day. And also it provides a little bit of peer pressure that everyone is in this team together and they need to show up and they need to be successful with their KPI or it's going to show every single morning. So I think that was probably the biggest tool, the morning huddle. And yeah.
Absolutely. And it's also utilizing, you utilize the procedures when something is not gone, if something is not going correctly, or if there is an issue, you pull up the procedure and you see, okay, do we have it documented? Do we have a procedure for it? Or if not, do we need to document one? And if we do, why is it not being used? Why is it not being utilized? What got violated, etc.? Because it's the process and the people at the same time in order to evaluate what is really going on.
Yeah.
So that can be a mixture of also how do you use it in order to make sure that it's being utilized by all. Great. Okay. So in closing, why don't you share with us what inspires you?
I mean, my family is a big inspiration. I'm a family guy. I have 2 kids and they motivate me a lot. We actually have our teams end in a motivational quote every morning to close out our morning huddles. And I gave the quote this morning. It's from Les Brown, and the quote was, "The greatest revenge is massive success." And I love that quote. And I feel like, it is not a revenge on anything per se, but growing up in a family of 9 kids, and my dad was, a community college professor. I didn't grow up with a lot. And so being able to provide for my family and create a lot of opportunity for my kids is extremely inspirational for me.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's great. Well, thank you, Dr. Seth Hill, for being a guest on this podcast. I really appreciate it. It's great inspiration to others. So hopefully your story will inspire other entrepreneurs to take it on and expand the business and fulfill their dreams.
All right. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for listening to the System Simplified podcast. We'll see you again next time, and be sure to click subscribe to get future episodes.